Peter draws, experimenting with spray paint again, and once again he learns that just because people suggest something a lot, and just because a lot of people make something look really easy and satisfying, it's not necessarily that easy and that satisfying. Okay, I take it back. He did realize it is pretty satisfying, but it would be even more satisfying if he was really good at it. And he realizes that all those people that made it look really easy were probably people that had spent a lot of time doing it. So here he is, putting in some hours. It's a little bit less satisfying now, but even a little bit of satisfaction can come from seeing your own improvement. And he watches it happen. The nice thing about spray paint is it can go on almost anything, and Peter wishes that he wasn't renting this house so he could just spray paint all over everything. And even if it looked bad, he can just come back in an hour or a day or a week or a month or a year or some other time and just put a nice coat of white paint over it or not at all and spray paint something else over it again. That's the cool thing about paint. It doesn't work quite as well with pen and pencil, but every medium has its ins and outs, just like that. Peter was wearing some goggles, but Peter's not sure if it's really necessary. He's wearing a respirator because one time he did a spray paint video and he didn't wear a respirator, and so many people commented about how he should wear a respirator, not just some sort of dust mask, so he doesn't get all the little carcinogenic particles deep in his lungs latched in there, slowly killing him. But how dangerous are spray paint particles to the old eyeballs? He wears glasses of some sort, and he tried wearing the goggles, but he has never ever in his life had a good experience wearing goggles where the goggles didn't quickly fog up. Are there goggles with tiny, tiny windshield wipers on the inside? Because the inside just fills up with fog. Is he just a foggy person, a very moist, humid person where there's just little molecules of moisture shooting out from the little pores under his eyelids that just fill up the inside of the goggles with fog? In this video, Peter is using MTN 94 and Montana Gold spray paints. Really nice spray paints. They have all these different things about spray paints, like that describe them that he doesn't really understand, like low pressure, this fast drying. I don't know. It's just spray paint to him because he's not expert. He's not an expert. He doesn't know what it all means, but it's nice to have the good stuff, I suppose. It's kind of a luxury to him at this point. It's not a necessity. When he uses the cheap spray paint from Walmart, it feels to him about the same at this point, but it's nice to have the good stuff. And he even has some of those interchangeable caps for the narrower sprays or the fatter ones, and he doesn't really know what they all do exactly, even though he has the little labels, but he does wish that they were better labeled, because there's like light green, dark green, and then sometimes like the little inside of the caps it's very subtly, there's just subtle differences, and you have to like look at them very carefully, and then sometimes when the paint gets on them, you can't really tell them apart anymore. It's fine. It's like a little gripe. I'm sure professional people who are like really good at street art and spray painting and graffiti and all this stuff have it all figured out and have tons of caps they switch on and off all the time, and it's just his little amateur spray painting gripe. He does like the feeling of wearing the respirator, however. It feels good. It feels more professional when you're locked in with a lot of gear or whatever, even if the respirator isn't necessarily... I feel like when you see people out on the street doing graffiti, they don't wear the respirator, probably because it's more of a giveaway. You know, what if like a cop pulls up, you're down the alley, dropping a tag or something, and I don't know all the lingo, but if you're wearing a respirator, it's harder to run away, toss that in your bag. You look guilty quicker, but Peter's not really down with graffiti, vandalizing other people's property. He knows he wouldn't like it very much if he came out one day and saw some weird little squiggly tag of some guy's indiscernible squiggles and spray paint on his garage door, and he had to spend his Saturday pressure washing that off. But he has spent quite a lot of time appreciating sanctioned street art. You know, there's street art that is approved by the city. Sometimes, you know, it covers whole walls and stuff like that. Stuff that takes days and days, and even sometimes cities approve artists to do things on like power converter boxes or whatever those are called, and that's really cool. But what if, hypothetically, Peter somehow happened to record a graffiti artist graffitiing something? Now, the graffiti artist, of course, would be totally, I mean, he would have like a hood on, you wouldn't be able to tell who it was, and he just happened to be walking down the street, and the guy just happened, you know, he just happened to catch footage of this guy doing this, and he didn't know who it was. Totally a masked figure. Nobody in particular could be held responsible for that, right? But Peter doesn't want to do that because it's don't want to encourage that sort of degenerate behavior. Art should be about building up and creating, breaking down and making more work for other people. Peter tries different mediums every now and then, and spray paint is a lot different than a lot of the different mediums he tries. More different than drawing, than watercolor. More different than, let's see, what else does he do? I mean, he's done other things, right? It's different because, first of all, different things, you know, Peter's used to resting his hand on the paper, drawing slowly, carefully, each line, right? This, of course, you can't rest your hand on anything, and the distance of your hand from the surface determines what kind of line you're going to get. Also, you have to keep it moving. There's no resting, stopping. I mean, you can, but feels like a lot more flowy and fluid, and it feels more like a dance at some point. I could see it feeling even more like a dance the bigger the canvas is. If it's a whole wall, you get your whole body into drawing these long, broad lines if you're swooping them all around. I mean, he could see that. Sorry, I'm just the narrator. I don't know what I'm not Peter. I'm just a narrator guy. Peter's cool though. We hang out sometimes. He shows me some of his art. I'm actually his dog. On the downside, he did not give me a respirator mask to wear for this, or goggles or glasses or anything. I just had to go try to breathe fresh air where all these dangerous fumes were blowing about everywhere. He was in the shed. It was raining a lot. The tin roof is very loud under the rain, and I had to go in there to get out of the rain, and it was thunderous and toxic in there with all the fumes. I can't tell if this is the rainiest part of the world we've moved to, or if this is just rainy season, but it's definitely very rainy here. The grass grows fast. I like to romp and roll and play in it and catch all sorts of ticks, and then Peter picks them off of me. But yeah, I think he had a lot of fun with the spray painting. He painted on that globe at the beginning. Could have turned out better. He had a lot of cool ideas for that. It was a lot cooler in his head than it turned out in real life, of course. That happens a lot. It's okay. At least he did something instead of just daydreaming and sitting around all day. He did something, and then he painted on an old piece of drywall that he found in the dumpster, and then he got 2 pieces of plywood from Lowe's or something and painted on those. Next time each of those pieces of plywood was the same price as one piece 4 times as big. So next time he'll just go and get one piece cut by them, since the first 2 cuts are free and the next cut is 25 cents. I mean, that's quite a markup. Like one little piece like that he drew on, it's like $10, or you can get one big piece for $10. Or maybe like $11, right? Why not get the big piece and get it cut into 4 pieces that size? Those pieces are literally 4 times as expensive, and he still bought them, even though he knew that because of some weird thing about an employee showing him from one and then the other, and then he was afraid to like go back and get the other and then ask for the cut, even though the guy showed him to the other place because he was afraid of confrontation and all this stuff, and it was just weird. And he's just like, I'll just get these 2. It's fine. $10 extra isn't that big of a deal. I mean, he should have. Learn to stand up for yourself, Peter. Okay? It's about the principle, not the $10. He'll learn eventually. He'll learn. Anyways, thanks for watching, Peter. Thanks for looking at some of the chickens. And they're pretty cute. The chickens are pretty cute. I like the way they move. I do like the way they move. They move okay. They're cute. All right. Goodbye, everybody. Love you. Peter does too. All right. Goodbye.